Welcome, everyone. Dr. Rob is joining on Labor Day holiday here in the US. Can't believe it's September already. So, Dr. Rob, our first question is, what's the difference between a sex addict and someone who uses sex as their primary method to regulate often dysregulated emotions? My wife of 3 years told me she was a sex addict while we were courting, but turned away from her old ways. Now that we've married, she thinks that she can use my body for sex
Well,
whenever she feels like it, but doesn't seem to understand the whole idea of non-sexual intimacy. And when I try to bring up the idea of other ways to connect and feel close, she feels that's a waste of time. And I should just give her sex 3 times a week, regardless of how distant she's been and
mm,
how I don't feel close to her. She hasn't cheated on me, but there have been multiple times when she's pressured me to have sex when I don't feel close, and she's threatened to find someone else. She tells me she needs sex. I should just trust her that she knows what she needs and give her the sex. We've seen a CSAT a few times, but she's convinced him it's just a libido mismatch. Help.
I just want to say, first of all, from what I can see, is we don't know whether a partner's writing is a man or a woman, from what I can see. I just want to point, unless I did see, something about a male. Regardless, I just want to make sure that's clear because that's what I see. We can talk about it from that perspective. But
It says,
regardless, go
and you're
ahead.
right,
I
it
don't
is
know.
not gender specific. It says my
Right,
wife. So
right.
let's
So I
go
don't.
from a male partner, female
Okay.
addict. That's how we'll answer this.
Well, from a male partner, I just am so impressed. I mean, men don't say these things. I'm just like, maybe you, well, I'm working with the wrong men, but I don't usually hear men talking about want more intimacy, intimacy. I want to be cared about. I don't have the sex I want. I have too much sex. I mean, generally, in our world, right? It's the partner, female partner who's saying these things. So if this is a man, I say, good on you for looking for more from your relationship than simply having sex. Especially since you're recently married. So, in any case, you asked a question, I'm going to answer it. There is no difference in my mind between a sex addict and someone who uses their sex as their primary method of self-regulating. I think that those of us who have these issues, I know I have a lot of trauma. I'll give you an example, and a really quick one. One of my biggest issues is abandonment. My mom was in and out of hospitals when I was a kid, and not well, maybe 3, 4 years ago, I was in a therapy session. While I was going for therapy, my therapist wasn't there, and I sat in the waiting room. And the first thing and she wrote me, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought weren't meeting today or whatever." And the first thing that happened is I wanted to act out because it tipped me at all of those issues that dysregulate me, like abandonment, an important woman that I'm leaning on, and she let all that stuff. Even though I don't think it's not in my head emotionally, where I go is not healthy. I don't go to, I'll talk to a friend, or I'll go for a walk. I do go to what's the most immediate way I can feel better. And so, yeah, I mean, I think any of us would say, addiction is about not having feelings, about not feeling things. It's about going numb, and going numb is a way to regulate, or at least to disappear. So I think your question is well asked. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but the reality is that we are people who have a great deal of difficulty stabilizing our emotional system. And some people drink, some people use, some people have good friends. I mean, we have go all across the spectrum, from healthy people to people who are not particularly healthy. Not particularly healthy in that way. Learned what I've learned, let me just say one thing about that, is when I want to go act out, something has happened and I'm feeling dysregulated. I don't want to say this to you. I sat in for so many years thinking, gee, why do I want to act out? What is this about? And then gone and acted out while I was thinking about why. So all I need to know is I want to act out. That means something's wrong. And that means I'm feeling dysregulated and I need to go do what I've been taught to do, which is make a phone call, reach out to someone. So yes, um, I also, the other part, I think Tammy can speak to this better than I can, but um, I understand how you feel used. I mean, I need sex is not the same as I care about you. I love it when we're close. I want you with me. That's about you. That's the connection you're looking for. Basically, what she's saying is, I want the keys to that car. I want to drive it. But you're not a car. You're a person. You have needs. You have feelings. And I'm impressed that you're enough in touch with what you need and what would make you feel healthy with someone you love to say this isn't enough. I don't know the when you went to a therapist, and I don't think the people in my field would very quickly say, "Oh, they just like having sex." So I'm not sure how it was described or talked about. I'm not sure. And I'll say one more thing: if you weren't in that session and your wife went to that session, and the person said, "Oh, you're a sex addict, you're a mess, all of this," they're not going to call you and say that to you. Your wife's going to come home and say, "Well, the therapist said it wasn't a problem," because we lie. So unless you're in the session, we don't really know what
And
happened.
it says we've seen a CSAT a few times, but she's convinced him it's just a libido mismatch.
Right.
So this appears to be a they're
Right.
both in a
And so
session.
I would say
So
let Tammy, TMI at Sticking Integrity, find you another CSAT. Because not all of us are particularly, we may be well trained, but doesn't know what the heck we're doing. And I gotta tell you, I would never let me say it this way. No one has ever walked in my door, I mean ever in all 30 years, who didn't have a problem in this area. No one goes to CSAT and they say, well, I like sex. They have a problem. That's why they come see us. And so I just want to say to you, if you are going, look, I don't go to a cancer specialist because I don't have cancer. How many people will walk into this, a cancer doctor and say, I went to my GP and they said everything was fine, but I'm seeing you anyway. So what has happened there is someone who may not be well enough trained to push back. And I wasn't there and I don't know what happened, but I do admire you for wanting more. And I really understand that you feel like you're an object and not a person. And every partner here feels that way. Tammy,
my first thing was healthy boundaries because we talk about boundaries a lot on these, and often for partners, but it needs to be boundaries on both sides. But the manipulation, um, the threats of like I'm going to go find someone else. I mean, that is so manipulative. And I'm sorry, for you, but I'm also going like you don't get to say no. So it's your body, and you don't get to say no because she's threatened to find someone else, and you know and and there's a lot of CSATs I don't recommend, so like while I recommend many of them, there are CSATs I don't recommend. So I don't know who you're seeing, and that's but but any therapist who works in this field and sees that there's a problem and I'm feeling used, I'm not feeling connected. We're not using sex as part of, an ultimate connection. It's using it because I need this, I need this, I need this. We hear that from sex addicts all the time. Recovery looks different, and recovery would be different. So if they're this your wife is saying, I was a sex addict, we're never not an addict. We're always an addict. We're either in active addiction or active recovery. There's no straddling the fence. So I'm not there, but I'm reading someone who is hanging on to, I need this, you know, I'm using you. I need sex to make me feel okay. Anything that we're doing, just like Dr. Rob was sharing, anything when I'm looking for something external to make me feel okay, even if it's my spouse, but it's not in a
healthy, connected.
healthy, connected
Right.
way. Yes, yeah, I was going to say connect, but a healthy, connected way. It's like I'm using you, and I'm going to threaten you. I'm going to manipulate you to make you do what I want you to do. That feels very coercive, not helpful. So, healthy boundaries. The first one is internal boundaries. What do I need to do to hang on to me? How do I take care of me regardless of what somebody else is doing? And if she values your relationship so little that she's going like, if you don't provide me with my service 3 times a week, then I'm going to go somewhere else. I mean, that's a lot of data, and it's sad. It's really sad that, there's that much focus on that. And welcome to the world of addiction. I mean, if
Right.
it was a male addict, we hear this kind of stuff all the time. You need to do this. So the only difference is who's, that it's a female addict. But I say this all the time.
Right.
People perceive that it's always a male addict. No,
Right.
no, it's
Well,
not true.
to that point, I mean, the only thing that I would say in the defense of the person who saw Sorry for Therapy is 98% of the people we see are men. And so
Hmm.
there may well have been some health road. I want to defend someone's therapy, but I can understand it's unusual for us. I do want to say a couple other things though, and Tammy brought this up. I want you to have sex with me, and I'm threatening you. I mean, do those
Yeah,
things don't
that
go
makes me really
together?
feel like I want
You
to do
know,
that.
this person is literally saying, if you don't let me use you, then I'm, and by the way, and I want to say this in the most respectful way I can, Tammy knows this, I don't know you, I don't know your life, but if this is how you're being treated, I really don't know who else your partner might be with. I
I
don't
wondered the
know.
same thing because it
I
was like
just
she
don't
hasn't
hear.
cheated on me, and I'm like,
And when they get angry at you, because there is one other piece, which is, and Tammy said this also, and all of you partners, what I hear is, well, she's not doing this and she's not doing that, and I'm not getting her. And does this mean this about her? And I want to know about you. What Tammy's talking boundaries is, if you don't feel safe, if you feel used, maybe she needs to sleep in another room. Maybe this is a time when you need to go stay with friends or family. I mean, I don't want to be in a house where someone's threatening me. And so it doesn't matter why she's doing it. The point is that how does that feel for you? And how do you take care of you? And so the missing piece here, and I think there's many spouses, is taking your eye off of that person, and it's dysregulation. This is dysregulation. If they act this way, I will feel better. If they stop demanding it, I will feel like she dysregulates you by the way that she acts. How can you find yourself in a position, a situation where you can be regulated without having to decide whether she goes up and down that you're going to follow her? And that is really the key to being a healthy partner, is saying, I'm sorry, I hope you don't do it. I don't know if I'm going to stay or going to not, but I come first in my relationship with myself. So this is very troubling. And I say to all of you, imagine if this is a woman saying to a man, and he's saying, I'm threatening you. You have to have some man to man saying to a woman, you have to have sex with me. And, it gets very uncomfortable when you put it on that side of the fence. So either way, I feel for you. I hope that you focus on yourself. And I think you should let her, have her, she's going to fall on her face. So, just give her time and stay away and she will fall on her face. So do get STD
And
tested.
then I hope she's looking for help. Like I like the falling on your face. Like we don't want people to, but yeah, I mean, but no. I always say no addict gets help until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. So this can go on, trust me, for decades, decades. Or but when a partner goes, enough, I'm taking care of me. This is the boundary, and you're able to hold the space for you. That's sometimes that starts to make things like, oh, I actually do need to do something. Okay, you're
We have
muted.
lots of folks.
We do.
So,
Okay, so we're going to go to the bottom one in the answered. So
mhm.
the one that says edit. Okay, SA and NA here. 130 days clean, sober, and removed from D-Day. I am in 12-step meetings 6 times a week and meet with a CSAT 1 time a week. My wife and I recently reunited after a 4-month therapeutic separation. Things seem to be going well, but with some cautious optimism. We are still about 3 to 4 weeks out from disclosure. Is there any general advice you can give us for this new chapter in our relationship? Thank you so much.
Slow down is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Slow down. First of all, I'm really impressed. And this is the kind of
Yes,
thing I
me
do
too.
want to hear. And boy, does this make Tammy's heart sing. I'm going to this many meetings. I am awake. I am aware. I am working with a professional who knows what they're doing. And I believe you. Why would you have any reason not to tell us that? We can't see you. We don't know you. So, you are doing, when you say cautious optimism, we're 3 or 4 weeks out from disclosure. The fact that you're still talking to each other, that you actually can stay in the same room. I mean, to me, there's huge progress here. And what I hear from you a little bit is what addicts think. They're impatient. I did all this work and I'm doing so. I mean, there's a little bit of that. I got to say, it's just, I did all this and I'm working really hard and I've gone through disclosure. So what is it going to take for us to have it? You haven't started your new chapter. You're still in the old book on chapter 9, and you've got to get through chapter 14. So you have a long way to go. And I mean, it could be a year before you guys meaningful move to the next chapter. I think I would ask you to acknowledge the good work you've done. I think your wife is in her head, but emotionally she's not there yet. And I think you need to be patient and trust the process. You're doing all the right stuff. You're going to get where you need to do, but focus on you. Tammy?
Yeah, this is I often refer to the podcast Dr. Rob did with Dr. Stan Tatkin about We Do, January 2019 on sex, love, and addiction. But what I hear is that you guys are focused. Like I love this. He's Dr. Rob is right. I love meetings. You're doing great stuff, and you're very early in the process. You lived a life, completely over here, and now you're working on going this direction, but you don't. So it's a process, but I hear you guys focusing on, we have a vision that our relationship, we want to be out here together and we're, navigating this gap. Great. And it is a process. I think my biggest is like slow down. I love that. But I think also understand that this is not linear. Like it isn't like we're always going to make forward progress. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be something, there's going to be stuff. But if you ultimately have the goal of we're in this together and we're navigating this space and we're not going to do it perfectly, you're human. And you're looking to do something very different. Real recovery takes, 2 to 5 years. So again, great job, 5-month chip, woohoo, whatever. And you're still learning how to live life on a completely different plane than you did before. So, understand and it will get easier in many ways. But there's also a little, we in 12 step we talk about the pink cloud, and that's usually 6 to 8 months, that can pop. So just be cognizant of, like, I'm enjoying that we're moving towards each other, that we're
Mm.
making some progress. We're going to give ourselves and each other the grace to go. We're going to do our best. We have support. So we've got outside people that can help us. When we get stuck, we don't have to do this alone. And when something goes not great, you it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to do something different. Like, we're going to learn from that, and we're going to move forward. And if you keep going, we're going to learn and we're going to move forward, you will.
I want to add one more thing, which is you've reunited after a 4-month therapeutic separation. I think that is huge. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really huge. You have gone through a very difficult process. You've done disclosure, and now you're at the other side, and you're living together. So, and you want a concrete, so I'll give you concrete. I would set up some absolutely. Cami can write this Fanos. There are
Yes.
ways to have a. I would have a regular check-in every evening. Each other take each other. Cami's gonna. There's a program
I'm
for it that
pulling a
you can
blog. Yep.
sort of do it yourselves, but make as much consistency for each other as you can, and make plans. Tonight we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do that. We're going to work on things. Reconnect through the pieces of your, right. In this case, don't look for the big emotional things. Look for, we had a great walk. We spent time doing this. We enjoyed that. And maybe I was wrong to say new chapter. There isn't a turning the page here. There's the evolution of your relationship. You're in this stage and it's going to get that stage. I love metaphors, but it's only one book. I changed my mind. It's only one book. And you just read the really difficult chapter, and now you're beginning to see how it's going to resolve. Um, I have gratitude for you. I have gratitude for the situation. If I were you, I would look for what can I be grateful for? Um, yeah, and tell her you want to talk to her more, you want to understand where she's coming from. We do have something called Out of the Doghouse, which is a book about gaining partner empathy. We do a work group. It's my most popular book because it teaches men how to understand what a woman's gone through when she has been cheated on. Um, I've had many women read Out of the Doghouse and throw it at the man they're dating or they're
It's a
married to.
paperback,
Well,
so
yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
true.
hurt. No, but I'm just saying, it's not like, this is not
Uh,
encouraging abuse. This is a
no,
paperback.
no.
So,
Take your time, give yourself a thumbs up for how well you're doing, and talk more. In fact, ask her, what do you think we could do to move forward each day? I think she has better answers than we do. So
okay. So the next one, did Scott help you, Dr. Rob, write Cruise Control?
Scott has helped me with every book I've ever written because what he does is he's an editor. So before we had ChatGPT, right? Now I can put in something I've written and I can say, is this organized? Is this structured? I can throw it in there. But we need editors. Writers need editors. I think what I write, trust me. So anyway, the answer is he's been involved in almost everything I've ever written. No, well, let me say this. Scott was not available. He was in another place in his life when I wrote Cruise Control for the first time. He was not involved in any way. I didn't have a relationship. I didn't know him. When I went back into a revision, then I brought him in and I said, how can I make this better? But yeah, I love the fact that I have someone who is literary, who's smart, who is doing this work, who can give me feedback. Because I got to tell you, as an addict, I think everything I write is fabulous. So what I hear is a question there, which is, do you do your own work? Are you writing your own things? Are you coming from integrity? And I can tell you, for me to commit to doing something and putting my name on it and taking a year to work on it is not something I would hand over to anyone else. My name is on it. Those words help your lives. And I'm not going to let anybody, and I'm not going to get emotional. I'm not going to let anybody give that message out except me. They can help me with a sentence. They can help me phrase things. They can help me think. But I do this because I care, and I don't care whether I sell another book or have another, I've written 9 of them. So anyway, I think I'm getting defensive just because the message under here. And to me, it feels like maybe there's not an understanding of how passionate I am about this and how much it means to me and how well I want it to be. So the answer is yes, Scott's helped with almost every book because he's a reflection when I'm just looking in a mirror and seeing myself. Ooh, I like that metaphor.
I like
Cam,
that. And I
thank
and
you.
I I lived through Dr. Rob writing Codependence. Yeah,
Sorry.
you get, yeah, I lived through it. So yes, like that one, I was around in a more outer way for other books, but that one I lived, yeah, I lived around that.
Can you
So
explain what that means, Sam? I think you have to
that
say what
means
that means.
I watched you agonizing through like that writing and like dedicating hours,
Thank you.
blocks of hours to your calendar so that you could focus. Like, because it takes focus. You can't go, well, I'm going to write for half an hour. No, blocks of time, and making sure, that it came together. And yeah, absolutely. Scott helped, make it all flow nice and all of those things, but yeah, that was your,
And I want to add
your
one more
passion.
thing. Um, what difference does it really make? If it's helping you in recovery, I don't care whose name is on the book. I know
Yeah.
my history, I know what I've done, but if this is something that's helpful for you, fantastic, great. I don't care if Joe Smith's name is on it, as long as it gets you what you need to do. Someone said in my recent, well, I said recently, I've checked all my boxes. After Oprah, I was like, okay, I've done what I need to do. So, what I want to know is, did you read it? Did you learn from it? Is there something you can do with it? That's what matters to me. So, anyway, I don't know what to say about that one, Tammy.
And with the cruise control, a reminder that on Thursday nights there's a cruise control drop-in group. Dr. Skip that hosted in my absence hosts that group. So if that's a fit for you, please consider joining that too.
And for those who don't know what it is, it's the first book that was written for gay men to understand the difference between in a highly sexualized culture and then still it's like being an alcoholic walking to in a bar. Everybody's drinking heavily. Being in the gay world is often like, a lot of different kinds of sexual availability that might be different in the heterosexual world. And so someone figuring out, well, am I just part of this culture or do I really have this issue? Um, it, I'm sorry, I'm having all these memories about sitting down and and thinking anyway, this is the book I always wanted to write. So okay, I'm done. Take what you like and leave the
Okay,
rest.
the
Let's
next
keep going.
question is, so we have not had discovery and no plans yet, and what they really are pointing to is formal therapeutic disclosure. So no CSAT. My husband is committed to in a 12-step SA program and working step one, but do we think formal therapeutic disclosure is important? So while you're chewing, so Matt
I'm
Wheeler has
sorry.
talked about this. No, it's okay. Matt Wheeler has talked about this on, on many webinars, and it really ends up being a lot, what does the partner want? I've witnessed this. A lot of partners are going, I know it was bad, I don't need to know, and I see that he's doing the work to change things. Great. Now there are a lot of partners that is not going to fly, and they really do want to, like, it's the validation of when he said, he was going to a work conference and he was really doing something else. That aspect of it can be like making sure that what I was thinking was accurate. That can be helpful. But a disclosure is not a formal therapeutic disclosure requires, well, a good formal therapeutic disclosure is going to have two qualified professionals, one for each of you to support you, prepare each of you, for that. And help you navigate the space, understanding what the plan is for after, all of those things. But it's not like a narrative. It's not a 50-page narrative of every little thing. It's that summary of data. The helpful thing from an addict standpoint is, as if they're working on a 4-step, they're pulling together information and they're thinking of timelines, and it's helping pull the information so they have better clarity on what addiction has really cost them, what they have really done, so that can be helpful. But I've seen a lot of that. It really is up to the two of you, as long as you are both, in agreement. If an addict is going, no, you don't need this, you know everything, then I always say, like, don't trust that, trust your gut and what you need. So now that you're
I
done
want to.
chewing, thoughts?
Hey, I'm chewing an apple here. My
I
friend Tammy, you
understand.
glad? I'm chewing on healthy stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
we have lots of questions, so let me just say this quickly.
Okay.
Let me tell you quickly what disclosure is. It's when a couple gets to a point in a process. They don't just go and do it, and they don't do it by themselves, where they sit down and the addict tells the partner everything that's happened. Not the details of this was that big or that small, but where I was, what I did, who I was with. And to me, it's essential because you need you need a stable playing ground. An addict who has secrets that your partner's always going to wonder. They'll wonder anyway, but you're going to walk around saying, well, I didn't say this and I should have said that. And so just from the addict's point of view, I think, well, I got away with that. They don't really know about that part. So maybe it leaves the door open. But every single spouse says, more than anything, I just want to know what's going on. I just want to know what's been going on. I just want to know who we are together. I don't want to live in the dark. And I believe that if you respect this person that you're with, that you have a responsibility to give them the information that you've withheld from them for so long. So I think it's essential, and I think it's important to do it the right way. And you need a professional who knows what they're doing. So we have lots of questions. I want to get to them, Tammy.
Okay. Hi, addict and partner here. We're wondering how to navigate the balance between navigating romantic and sexual connection with the need for space and individual healing. Sex and porn addict and CPSTD childhood sexual abuse victim.
Let me get this right, because so this is the addict asking, it's the couple asking the question.
Right.
Um, so I don't know a lot. Like, I don't know how long you've been working on this. I don't know if you're in therapy. I don't, because the answer would be different depending on the circumstances. I will tell you this. Whatever you're doing and however you're doing it, the most important thing is for the person who's abused to have control. You know, that situation above where the person said, well, I need to have sex, and that would be a nightmare for a abused partner, because what I want as a partner is, if I have sexual abuse, and trust me, I've been working with people with abuse for a long time, they want to be able to say no. They want to just, as a man and a partner, I want to say, is this okay? Will you let me know when you don't feel comfortable? It's really that high level of awareness, not just going ahead and doing something, and it's not just helping them feel understood. It is giving them a sense of control in ways that they didn't have when whatever happened to them happened to them. You respect and love them enough to say, would you like to stop? Is this okay? Is this not? And you're giving them permission to move away from the trauma. So, uh, Cami, you can speak to this. Again, I want to run through a lot of questions here today, but comments about balancing romantic and sexual. Again, I think it's about communication, but I leave that to you.
And one of the things I think is really Masters and Johnson, sensate focused touch. Like, there's all kinds of ways you can touch and connect without having it be just sexual intercourse. So, but I'm with Dr. Rob, and you know what? For most people, communication is lacking. So if you're talking about this, and what are you hoping for? You're like have the discussions, have it, do a check-in with each other of like, what do what would feel good for you? What do you, even in the moment, like, it changes things because you're actually communicating. That's what's really important about all of this. So, okay, the next one. Do you distinguish between sexual entitlement and need for validation, using sex merely as a coping mechanism or a sex addiction? Partner, 13 months out, no urges, took advantage of my schedule when acting out and not at any other time. It seems like it was more of an opportunity to cheat and get away with it rather than someone who was in a desperate addiction.
And I would say the answer is yes. The answer is yes, we want opportunities, and yes, we want to cheat, and yes, we want to do whatever we want to do. And yes, we do take advantage of your schedules. And I do watch the clock and think, oh, darn it, they're going to be home tonight. Well, I'm not going to get to do this or that. Or when is dinner over? Then I can lock myself in my room and look at porn. So we are, and so there's a yes to everything. Sexual entitlement is, I'm going to get what I want we had that question earlier. I'm going to use you in whatever I want. I'm going to do it whenever I want, and I'm entitled to do that. Do we see it as validation? Sure, it's a very sick kind of validation, but if I can get if I can get you to do what I want you to do, then I'm in control and it feels validating. That's very different than the validation of feeling loved and appreciated and valued. So we have a theme tonight, Tammy, which is, what is intimacy, what is connection, and what is being used. But what I hear, and when you say partner 13 months out, no urges, what does that part mean? Do you know, Tammy? Because I don't quite understand.
Um, so I'm not 100% who's it.
Right, that's okay.
I know, because I'm kind of thinking it sounds like it's the addict,
Excuse me for
is
interrupting. I think it's
13
a
months
partner.
out.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
but
partner saying, they say they're 13 months out, and they're saying,
oh
oh,
yes,
and here's
and
another thing.
and they're saying no urges. Yeah,
I
that
am
makes sense.
30 years in and I have
Yeah.
urges.
Yeah.
And part of it is being human, and part of it is God love it. God love them. Young people are beautiful, and I see them, and I think, oh, urges. So for someone to say to you, no, I never think about that again, that terrifies me. That makes me think they're trying to pull one over to you. Because I mean, alcoholics, we have issues, and this is where our head goes. And when I say it never occurs to me, that means I want you to feel comfortable, but I'm not being honest with you. I don't know an addict I've ever met who doesn't still have urges, or even better, who could guarantee you that they're not having them. So that makes me feel really uncomfortable, but I don't know enough
Yeah.
about the situation.
Well, and I don't either, but I'm tracking with what you're saying. So on our I'm putting in the chat on our homepage, we have a little self-assessment, for, the to decide if there's, a problem with sex. I'm also curious, what has this person been doing to stop those problematic behaviors and make sure that they're, like if they just go, I just stopped, then I'd be looking at everything else they're doing and go, did you just switch to something else? Because like acted out, cheating, are they looking at porn and masturbating like compulsively? Are they eating? Not apples. Are they, drinking, smoking, vaping? I mean, like what else? Shopping, spending, gambling. Like, are there other compulsive? Because if it's really a compulsive issue, it's going to leak out somewhere unless there's help to start moving in a different way. So that one makes me really curious. I would not. I'm with Dr. Rob. I would not trust. Oh no, urges. And I'm all good. I'm magically all good. I did all this stuff before. So one other thing, Dr. Rob, a longer time ago, and I've used this, I do support sessions and I've used this. It's like, if you're not an addict, I mean, it might have been that you're just emotionally immature. And that could be the case where it's the emotional immaturity and looking for entitlement, well, then you have to work on growing up, and guess what? With recovery, there's a plan for how you, can grow up and mature. So, so either you're kind of, a jerk, there's probably a stronger word, or there's some problematic behaviors that there's actually help for. And I don't know, I'm just putting this out there, so I don't know.
Well, a couple of things I just think are helpful. If there's any partners here who have heard, I have no desire, I've worked
Yeah.
on this, I'm over this, they're lying. That, or they have a different problem, as Tammy said, because if you understand this, and I run a treatment center. We do extraordinary work. I know this. I've been involved with it. I love the work. I helped set it up. I've been doing this for 30 years. And I've got to tell you that the addict who's finishing their 4 weeks of treatment or 3 weeks of treatment, and they say, I feel really good. I've really got this. I'm ready to leave. I've learned everything I need to know. I said, well, I'm really worried about you because you don't get it. You don't understand we use the word powerlessness. When someone stands up and they says, I'm terrified to go out there. I know I've been safe here and I've been supported here and I've learned a lot, but what am I doing out in the world? And something tempts me. That's the person I think, wow, they're really getting this. They understand. So for you partners who are being told to be reassured because everything's fine, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, it's a reality. It's never fine. You're with an addict, it's a chronic disorder that never goes away. And I'll say one more thing. I wrote this down. Instead of telling this person as the addict, what was it, what you're not doing? Tell them what you are doing. It's not, oh, I don't have urges. It's, I'm going to this many meetings and I've been talking to my sponsor and took this class at Seeking Integrity and I talked to my therapist. Tell her what you are doing rather than trying to convince this person what you're not doing. And to you partners, that's what would make me feel more comfortable is what you're doing rather than kind of convince me what you're not doing. I think you have a ways to go, but you're on the right track. You're here. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I would just put the work group link in again, out of the doghouse for men who've been caught cheating. That might be a good starting place. Often people start there and they're still doing something, so they should have started with Sex Addiction 101. But read the information about those two offerings. Those are both very helpful work groups. Okay, betrayed partner woman and betrayer man both attending tonight. Can you share some of the ways ADHD impacts betrayal and recovery? We are both diagnosed and recently discussed some gender differences that in our symptoms, hoping to add more understanding in our journey. I love that you're asking this, and I'm going to go pull some more resources.
Well, and I want to say to you guys that I'm married to someone who has ADHD, and I think we almost broke up. I could not come home to all the clothes on the floor another day, or where are my keys, or, what did you do with something that they'd already told me they'd done, or it drove me crazy. It made me feel I wasn't cared about. So, number one is I'm really glad that you understand that because it creates empathy. Oh, I understand. It's not that you forget that all the time because I don't matter to you. You forget it all the time because you have an issue. But this is what I really want help me in my marriage is there are some wonderful books. Wonderful. And I would do some research. It's not hard to do. There aren't not that many. How couples negotiate ADHD. I mean, it's simple things. And I know this is simplistic. I know there's a lot more evolved things since I've read them, but simply we have this bowl. That's where we put the keys every single day. You never have to worry about my not because every time I know that's a silly example, but it's teaching you
Mm-mm.
not the whole like, what is therapy and my history. And it's about what steps do we need to take to understand and have empathy for how and understand how to interact with and make better. These are deficits. You have deficits. Your partner can learn how to accommodate those and work with those. So I really strongly encourage you to go out there and do some reading on couples healing in this area. And by the way, you mentioned Dr. Stan Tapkin. He does work with couples who really need to understand and be compassionate about each other's vulnerabilities. And so there are many routes you can go, but and I know I didn't fully answer your question about sex addiction, but the best gift I can give you is go out and learn more about couples who have to work with this because there's a lot out there.
And I just posted because Candace Christensen did an on neurodivergence, including ADHD, and she talked about this kind of stuff specifically on the webinar. She also does consultations, and it may be worth the two of you having a consultation with her. It's not therapy or treatment, but she can help you, navigate. This is the only work she does. She only works on the neurodivergent spectrum, and she's talked about having partners and addicts both, and she could potentially give you a plan and a path to move forward, and point you towards. She's well connected, with people in other areas, so could help you, get someone perhaps closer to your area. But she may be useful. She did two different webinars. The first one was in February, but the other one was just last month. So check those out. Okay. I want my husband to start your work group, but he doesn't think label himself as a sex addict just using porn for 30 years of marriage. We have a so I'm interrupting myself. We have a porn addiction 101. You know why? Because we had guys like this who was like, I didn't act out with real people, so I'm not as bad as them. But and Dr. Rob will talk more about the app, but porn addiction 101 is the sex addiction 101 is the first group, the porn addiction is the second group, so that might be a perfect fit. But let me go back to the question. I feel worried D-Day comes again. We had 2 days, just one. He never saw it as a reason I left, returned to behavior porn. Should I expect him to go to your work group or see how it goes? And sorry, I'm taking, but healthy boundaries, like it can be in order to build trust, in order for
Right.
us to stay together. I really need to see that you're taking action on this and not minimizing, because the porn has affected our marriage for 30 years. So I'm going to go pull the specific link for porn addiction 101. And I've had partners, so I'm just going to do the flip side of this too, where partners have said, oh, I shouldn't feel as betrayed because my husband has not acted out with other people. But unless you agreed to him
Right.
looking at all of those images and taking the focus away from your relationship, then it is still a betrayal. So I'm going to go pull that. I'm going to let you speak to it. I'm sorry I took over.
Tammy, we've been doing this a long time.
I
You
know
don't
we
have to apologize to me about
haven't.
your
Yeah.
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, I did write a book called Porn Addiction 101 with our clinical director, Aaron Snow. And also there's a workbook, there's a course. But none of that matters. What matters to me is um, I'm married to you. I've upset you. I've told you I'm not doing things that I said I wasn't doing, but I really still am. You're concerned. Why would I argue with you about taking a stupid course? I love you. You're concerned. You're upset. I'm not sure whether I agree with this or not, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure this bump on my arm isn't just, a pimple but if you're concerned about you want to go to the doctor, I'll go because no matter how I feel, I want to make you more comfortable. So I want to flip the script and say, forget what he is or isn't. By the way, you've had you already know he's lying, he's cheating, he's gone back to the behaviors. What is a work group going to this is why we run a treatment program. If you and I want to be really honest, if you're arguing about simply taking a class And that's what the work groups are. They're a class with a workbook. That's what they are. If he's arguing about taking a class after betraying you twice and lying for 30 years, I have a bed in our treatment center. I think we'll have one open in a week or two, and he is more than welcome. This is a very high level of, I'm more concerned about you as the partner, that you would be willing to accept so little, because this is just an incredible violation. And the violation to me is very simple. You're upset. I care about you. It's not that big a deal. I'll be glad to do this because I care about you, whether it's true or not. And what I hear is, I'm going to do what I want. And why are you bugging me? And I don't believe, well, what does that do with you? You're upset and I love you and I want to help you feel better. That would be whatever his issues are, where I would want to come from. So I would feel dismissed, devalued, misunderstood, I'm not cared about. This is where I really question a marriage. And 30 years is something I wouldn't walk away from easily. But this is when I think about some kind of separated agreement, some kind of, get yourselves apart from each other. And again, and I'm talking fast tonight too, Tammy, is it feels like you're really putting, if he does this, then I'll be reassured. Then I'll feel better. Then why won't he just do this? Why he's not doing it? What are you doing for you? And I say to his partners over and over again, you cannot make us do anything we don't want to do. Trust me, we did it for a long time. We just lied to you. We do whatever you have to make the decision. Do I come first? I can't believe this person. I don't trust this person, especially if they're acting this way. But I don't want to be pulled around by the nose because they're telling me no, or they tell me yes, or I'm not going to watch them every minute. I have to come to peace for myself. And then whatever he does is what he does. Um, but anyway, I think that you're being manipulated and used and disrespected. And I'm really glad you're here. And I hope your husband's here too, because dude, I got a bed waiting for you in California.
And I put the porn addiction 101, but I also added the boundaries work group, which starts later this month with Debbie McCrae. And she's fabulous at helping identify what boundaries are and aren't. It's not about control or punishment, but it's about holding the space for you. I talked about it earlier, internal boundaries. I'm not going to betray myself, and I would love to, I would love to have you help find that path. Here's one more idea. Dr. Rob does a one-time 2-hour expert consultation with couples like you that are struggling and where somebody's in massive denial. And I will, um, often it's fear. I can't imagine giving up the only thing that I know that I use for a maladaptive coping mechanism. And so we hang on to that with, our fingernails dug in, and like I said, until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same, no addict is going to change. Right now, he can, give you all kinds of BS about, oh, I don't really fit that, and and even the turmoil of like, I'm in, I'm out, I'm all of that, he still hasn't decided to change. So, and not everybody chooses to, but that healthy boundaries, you could start getting a glimpse of how to hang on to yourself and take care of you. So, but an expert consultation, one time, 2-hour via Zoom, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com. If you've got questions about
Oh,
it,
I
I'll
love
help.
taking couples on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do. It's something I'm good at.
Yes,
So
he's
watch
very
out.
good. Okay.
Okay.
Follow up from the husband who's concerned about his wife who feels like she's just using him for sex. She used to drink, use drugs, sleep around, and has said that because her parents had sex 3 times a week, it is normal. She seems to have a dysregulation hair trigger and seems to have a host of maladaptive behaviors. When she gets home from work, she goes right to bed, disconnected from me, plays online multiplayer games with her friends, binge watches TV, and then takes multiple naps in the evening. As I'm trying to pursue household responsibilities, dealing with the issues with my children from a previous marriage, and other things to help my growth and development. And then she'll appear out of the bedroom um,
So
hours
I
later. So
actually want to
yeah, yeah.
interrupt you, and
So yeah, thank you.
I think you have a lot of questions, and they're
Yeah.
legitimate. And there are 4 people waiting for the next 10 minutes, and I want to say that with respect, this is what therapists are for. We're here to direct, to advise. If you want a good therapist, CAMI at Seeking Integrity. Tammy knows the good ones. Um, but it sounds like there's a very high level of anxiety and fear in your relationship, and that's so much more than we can handle. And I hear it and I feel it. And really, what my compassion says is, you need more than we can give you here. And I hope that you'll get it. And just the intensity and the length of I look at not just what people say, but how long do they write it and how many words. And you're in distress. And I really
Hmm.
hope you find a situation. We're glad to point you toward them. I don't know. We do, tell me, what, 18 to 20 free groups a week where people just drop in. I'm sorry, you're going to, what, can you? Can you say something about that?
Yes, well, and I put there's one for male addicts on Tuesday nights, and there's a mixed gender on Sunday night. But I'm looking at that with all due respect, your wife has multiple like this. If she was a male, I'd be recommending seeking integrity. Like this is the level for residential treatment because hanging on to one thing and oh I'm done with this one, but I'm still doing all of these others. It's just the whack-a-mole, and you're still not happy, joyous, and free. So that, yeah, like at some point, you haven't been married real long. You have someone who is in absolute denial about their problems, is blame shifting, is giving you all kinds of reasons, but isn't willing to do anything to change. So you get to pick, what you choose to do. But when there's that low, what are you doing to hold your healthy boundaries? So I will go back. I shared that earlier. I will go back to that. Okay. I'm the betrayed partner, divorced for over 7 years, but I have an 11-year-old still in between that keeps me
Oh.
stuck in a relationship that hurt me so much. I'm
Mm.
attempting to work through forgiveness and move on, but I struggle. I do not want to reach compassion for this other person, but rather neutrality, so I don't carry that hurt in my parenting space with my daughter. Her father, the person that betrayed me on many levels, is remarried to the affair partner and not in recovery. Could I get your thoughts in how to best forgive to move on while still be in integrity? I do not agree with his behavior, and both him and my child, and it is a constant reminder of the wound, pain, and hurt. So,
I
yeah, please.
So a couple of things. I did some studies on grief, and if I were going to write another book, I write one on grief, but I don't want to. But the grief is not an on-off. I'm sorry. I'm talking about forgiveness, the same as grief. Grief comes in stages, right? There's anger and hate and depression, and so we've identified you don't just stop grieving because it's over. And it's the same thing with forgiveness. And I really encourage you. It isn't an on-off thing. And there are wonderful books on the stages of forgiveness. And I think, Tammy, I might have a podcast about that for sure. But what I'm saying to you is maybe you have started this process or somewhere in this process. It just isn't obvious to you where you are. Um, I will say something. You want to have compassion. This person, from what I see, has separated himself because of a romantic relationship from his own child. You want to have compassion. You are focused on and loving your child. And I'm sure he's available. I'm sure he's doing what he needs to do, but he violated the relationship that he now is not able to enjoy his or give his child the peace of mind. So, by the way, so I would look at being focused on my child. Are their needs getting met? Are they safe? What can I do to love them? And you do need safe places to grieve this. And Tammy will tell you that's what all the support groups are. I want to say also that just because someone is out of your life doesn't mean you stop loving them. And I hear a lot of people say, well, he did this or she did that, and why am I still, or I even hear domestic violence partners say, well, I know I was hit, but why do I still care about them? Because that just doesn't go away. So, and here's another thing, rather than seeing yourself stuck in this situation, I would see myself as someone who is leaving a door open for my child to get what they need, because this isn't ultimately about you, and it isn't about him. It's about that child. And a lot of the people that I treat are parents. I say, I love you. I hope you do well. I'm sorry you've been unhappy, but I am in this business for your children. So you don't have to carry this thing forward. There was other thing that they said there. Oh, I know what it was. Just in case, and I would have fantasies about, oh, they're happy now, and he got her. And let me tell you something. If he cheated on you, then he is going to cheat on her. I have had partners be cheated on, left, the new person they married, and then the partner and the new wife get together. They say, well, we've been through the same thing. We've both been cheated on. So if you think walking away from you as an addict and going to find that other person and everything's going to be great with them, I want you to be more aware of what this is really about, because he's not looking for a person. He's looking to use someone or something. So if you want to have compassion for your child and your challenges with that child. And don't look at that relationship and say, well, I guess he finally got it together with someone else, because trust me, he's cheating on her too. So
Yeah, and I agree. I've gotten a lot of calls from former affair partners who are like, "He's cheating on me," and I'm like, "Of course, like that's to be expected." So, and like I read I'm stuck. I do not want to reach compassion for this other person, and I'm wondering. So here's and take what you need and leave the rest. But if I'm holding on to, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like that's what's usually keeping me stuck. And if you can picture this person, you're the father of your child, he's the father of your child. And I hope that you look at your child and go, I am so grateful for you, child, that, even though that was bad, I am so grateful for you. And I can relate to that one on a personal level. But can you imagine your ex-husband, as younger than a 10-year-old kid who didn't get what they needed, like this stuff doesn't happen in a vacuum. So he was a wounded little boy and he came up with his own maladaptive coping mechanisms and has caused you so much pain and hurt. But it started with that little boy. And for some people, having I can appreciate that that was painful, and he has never grown up. He's never learned to be an emotionally mature person. And now, yeah, I honestly, I feel bad for you. Don't get me wrong, and I feel bad for the affair partner because, she just inherited all, the next level of pain, and I feel bad for him because he's never going to really experience what real recovery is like and what real connection is like. So there's a whole bunch of pain in all of this, but you do not have to stay stuck. You can choose, to yeah, forgiveness is something I do for myself. I don't even have to tell the other person. It's not anything to do with them. Like there's a whole bunch of people I've forgiven that didn't even know I had a resentment or whatever against them. Some of them would even be happy if they knew they caused me dysregulation. And so I work on, like, I am going to do this because I don't want to carry that stuff around. And you are right. You will co-parent, you will co-grandparent. And so having that be I don't want to see that person, at some point, like it's a choice. I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm choosing to, go, I'm going to show up and be the best person I can.
Right.
It's not about, I don't want to make my child uncomfortable. I want to be supportive. I want to do good things for that. And how lucky for your daughter that you are her mother and that she gets to have that emotional support because, like she needs that. So you can be that person for her. So.
I really, Tammy, as a therapist, sometimes we say things, and I think I have to say we do feel good about being therapists. Sometimes we say the thing that just feels right. So I'm going to say this to you. Have you forgiven yourself?
Mm, that's a good one.
Have you forgiven yourself for having a child in the world who doesn't have the father that she could have? Have you forgiven yourself for making a choice in loving somebody who used you and walked away? Can you come to peace with yourself? Because if you can forgive yourself, then honestly, he doesn't matter. And like you said, you're going to co-parent, and you want to be the best parent together that you can be. So maybe you'll never forgive, maybe you won't, but the focus again is on that child because that's what matters. Tammy, I don't think we've ever answered all the
Oh, we
questions.
got one more. I just moved it. So
Oh,
SA,
okay.
so it's at the bottom.
Okay.
SA, who is also has addictions related to compulsive spending and debting. I'm like, that is so common. So, what happened to part one of financial infidelity and career suicide on the Sex, Love, and Addiction podcast? Really would think it would be beneficial for me and potentially my wife to listen to the full interview. Hmm.
Tammy, do we need to check if there's something wrong with the podcast I did with Deb Kaplan? Because she's the one that I did the financial infidelity one
Yeah,
with.
there's also a webinar on that. So like she was on and did a webinar with me. So that's also in YouTube, but I will look into that. Again, email tami@seekingintegrity.com and I will I like I don't I go in and look at some stats and things like that, but I don't go check and make sure everything is there.
We'll
And
check it out. And
I don't remember that there was two parts to that one. So I
I
kind of
don't
think
know.
there was only one.
Well, we
So
should
yeah.
recommend. I mean, she wrote a book about
Yeah.
money is power. And
Yes.
Deb is a friend of mine. And I think, and I'm not going to say this right because I don't know the market that well, but she was the first woman on the trading floor, the first woman to
Yeah.
ever been on the trading floor
Yeah.
with all of these guys who are a little misogynistic. And so she learned a lot about men in power and men taking advantage of each other. And she's our financial infidelity expert. And Deb does workshops and all this stuff. But Deb is a good friend and I respect her greatly. And I think this is kind of a specialty. But what Tammy said earlier, I want to validate, which is this is whack-a-mole. And for those of you, you have to recover from addiction, not sex addiction or gambling addiction. You have to recover from the whole thing. And if you don't, then it's eating, then it's money, then it's spending, then it's the need to regulate through a behavior that outside of me doesn't go away because I've stopped regulating in this area. It means I just move to another unless I am healing the addiction. And that is a much larger piece than this or that or the other. Anyway, Tammy, I gotta walk the dog.
Good job.
We
Yes,
did pretty
we
good
did it.
tonight.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thanks everyone for
Okay.
bringing your questions and joining us on holiday. Bye everyone. Thanks, Dr. Rob.